Hi there, Stampers. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome to our Monday Live. I hope you all had a good weekend. My husband and I got out again and enjoyed our e-bikes. It was so much fun. Today we are doing, of course, a fun fold. This one's going to start out kind of simple on the outside, and that wow factor is going to be inside. Okay, this is an idea that I saw from Lisa Curcio, and she had done it in a 5x7 card. And I thought, that's a lot of cardstock, and that's a pretty big card. So I spent a day, half a day, I guess, condensing it down and making it A2 size. So that's what we're working on today. We're going to do this multi-panel pop-out card in a 4¼ by 5½ size card. So let's get started. Here we are down on my desk. As I said, this is the card we will be making. I'm using the Everyday Essentials Mix and Match Designer Series paper, and then I'm pairing it with the Lovely Arrangements bundle. Okay, we're going to do this eyelet on the outside using this die here, and then we're going to create all of our little panels and decorate them up. So let me know you're here. I always appreciate it when you guys like, comment, and share. Those are all things that you can do for me for free that definitely help me get seen out there by other card makers. We're going to start out with a card base that is 11 inches by 5½, and I have scored this at 4¼ 5½, and 6¾ So those divided up in the middle, that's going to make this overall the 8½. So it's kind of just giving us that extra so that it is A2 4¼ by 5½, all folded up. Okay, because of that, we're going to have some ordinary panels. We're going to have our, here, these two right here are standard size panels. And I went with these smaller borders. So these are actually 4⅛ by 5�3. But you can make them 4 by 5¼ if you wish. I just wanted to cover up more territory. And then I've got these strips in the middle, and these are 1⅛ by 5�3. Okay, there's going to be one on either side. Let's go ahead and put those down. This is an awful lot of pieces, so the more I can kind of get out of my way, the smoother this is going to look. And this is just standard layering, so, you know, nothing fancy here. It's just a small border, so I'm being careful that we get that on there straight. And there's kind of a direction on this paper. It's not real prominent, but I am trying to keep them the same direction. And this card is what we call monochromatic, and that it's all using the same color. I'm using Lost Lagoon in the cardstock and ink, and then that's the color that's used in the Designer Series paper. I love that our Designer Series paper matches exactly our inks and cardstock. It makes it so much easier to pair things together. Okay, I've got lots of little pieces here. We have 2 pieces that are going to create the columns that are going to go on either side, and these are going to create little cubes, and so they are 3 inches by 4 inches, and they're scored every 3/4 inch. So we have 3/4, 1½, and then 2 1/4. Okay, so there's 2 of those. And like I said, they're going to make columns to go in the middle. So we're going to end up adhering them right in here. So I'm going to put adhesive across each side. And this is more adhesive than I normally use. Whenever there's going to get lots of tugging on it, I use more adhesive than normal. But I'm going to place that down kind of up against the edge of my designer series paper. So I'm almost at that score line, but I'm not interfering with it. Okay, oh, it slipped. So I'm going to adhere it down on one side, and then I'm going to push this into it, and that's going to create my block. Okay, so it's basically a square pillar. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And I want to make sure that they kind of match. So I'm starting the other direction where I'm matching up to that pillar and then closing it. So now I know that they are exact. Now I'm noticing this is bowing a little bit, so I may want to stick a little adhesive in there. And it's, of course, already kind of glued down, and I've got stuff in the way. So that may be a time when I would want to grab the other piece of this. The other tip, here we go, has this little spatula thing. And so maybe I would want to do just a little bit of adhesive, not much. But that little flat spatula is going to allow me to stick it in there and drag it so that I can put just enough adhesive on there to not make it bubble. Okay, so I'll come back and do some more of that. I don't want to hold up my whole card for that, but you get the idea that I'm just putting a little bit of adhesive. I'm pushing that flat area against my cardstock, and then I'm going to hold it together. And so the 2 areas where I did that, it's now sticking a little better. Okay, and it probably wouldn't have bowed at all, except that I put that that block on there, and so it's kind of pulling at the cardstock a little. But I guess it just showed me, it gave me the opportunity to show you another little trick that you may not have been aware of to add adhesive where it might be lacking after the card has gone together. So is that a trick that you knew, or is that something new? The designer series paper is called Everyday Essentials Mix and Match paper. And of course, everything I use is Stampin' Up. Okay, this is the little panel that's going to go in the front. So that's going to be like right here. It's going to pop out in the middle. So this piece is 4 inches by 2 inch, scored at 1/2 inch, 2 inch, and 3.5. And then I have some designer series paper that's going to go over it. So these are, looks like 1 3/8 by 1 7/8. So again, little tiny border. I've also got some strips that are going to go onto my columns here. And so these are It's like 3/8 by 3 7/8. And I'm going to put them on the two sides that we can see. So I know this is kind of blocking. Okay, so I'm going to do that side, and then I'm going to do the top side. Okay, this one's going to end up going right here. So it's going to pop out of the middle. And so, I don't know if you can see, but I'm just adhering it up against the border, you know, up against the edge on the inside. So I'm going to line this one up so it's right in the middle, up against that edge, and sticking to that column. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side so that it's going to come up like a, I guess a teepee, kind of a tent. So it's giving me a triangle in the middle. See, and that's all going to fold flat when I stick it in the envelope. So it's all kind of squishing together. Okay. I don't have my two side panels. Oh, here we go. Let's see, there's two more. Okay. The two side panels, these are the same. They're going to be, you know, of course, opposite sides. But being cardstock, it's not going to matter. We can do them the same. This piece is 3 inches by 4 inch, scored at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 3 1/2. We're of course going to burnish these again. Good. Looks like my little glue trick was something new, huh? I love that take your pick tool. I'm telling you, I find more uses for it all the time. Okay, as we're putting this together, we could also be using tear and tape. Sometimes I like that because I can put the adhesive on ahead of time and then just not peel off the backing until I'm ready to have it adhere. Whereas when I use the runner, it's ready to stick like right away. And I don't always want that. And it's a really strong adhesive. But these are going to go on either side of that pillar. So I'm kind of butting it up in the middle, up to that pillar, and then I'm going to collapse on it. Oops, yikes, that one came loose. Okay. So again, I'm going to take the single area where this has got the double, and I'm putting it up to the center. Good, I'm flush with the other side. And then we're going to adhere them kind of like a book. And so I can do that by folding it flat. peeling this off, and I'm going to close so that side's flat, so that when I open it, it's going to give me that right angle there. Okay, so I'm folding it on the outside, peeling this off, flattening it all out, and adhering that one down. Oh, gonna need that glue trick in here again. So you probably want to do, I did adhesive, like liquid adhesive on the other one, and apparently that worked better because it didn't do that on my other one. This little kind of pull. So we want to make sure the adhesive goes all the way around the outside edge. So a really thin line of the liquid glue would be good around those layers. Okay, these are going to go on either side. This is basic white. So we've stuck with, through the whole thing, we have Lost Lagoon and basic white. I have some pieces for the front. Okay, sorry, these are 2 3/8 by 2 7/8. For the front, I have the bottom layer is 4 inches by 2.5. This is 4 inches by 2 3/4. We're going to do some die cutting on that one using this die from in here. And I'm going to want to run it through twice because I'm going to want to have this go all the way across, and the die is a little short. Okay, we're going to have this extra like 3/4 of an inch. And so what I'll probably do is just bump this over and do like half of it. And then we'll run it through and do the other half kind of. It's not an exact pattern, so it's not really going to matter exactly. I just want to make sure that I am covering the whole top with those holes. Okay, so this is where I would probably want to come back with the die brush, which is on my other desk, and it'd pop out all those little pieces. It's best to use the die brush on the little foam pieces that it comes with, because then all those little pieces will stick to the foam. Of course, because I can't reach it, it's, like I said, it's on my other desk where my bigger die cutting machine is right now. But the little poker tool on this works well to pop these out too. I find it best to pop all these little pieces out every time I use the die, because that little extra bit of cardstock in there would make it so that it may not cut all the way through the next time on those areas where the paper is stuck in those holes. Because I'm using basic white, I have a better chance than normal to have it still work, because the white is a thinner cardstock than our others. But let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go this way because I want to make it look kind of random. So I'm using my mini cut and emboss machine, and I'm using plate 1 and then plate 2 and another plate 2. So there we go. Now we have those holes kind of all the way across. I'm going to throw these away now because those little teeny pieces, you know, have a tendency to go everywhere. So I'm going to make sure they go straight in the trash. So these two are going to stack and go on the front of my card. And then to cover that up, I have a little 1/2 inch strip of the Lost Lagoon. Because this has holes all over it, I'm going to use mini glue dots. You could also use liquid glue, but the idea is you want some glue that's going to slip into all these little empty spaces, kind of evenly distributing the adhesive, making sure the whole layer sticks. But then I'm going to take this piece and we're going to give it a regular border on the top. This one's going to butt up to the bottom and give us the regular border on the bottom. And then, like I said, that little strip is going to cover up our seam in the middle. And then we're going to be ready to do some stamping. Okay, so I'm going to bring out my lovely arrangements. And you can see I have a piece of the masking paper that I have die cut using the dies that come with the set. So this matches the larger flower. I did that for a reason, because we are going to stamp some flowers and we could have our leaves come out from behind them. Okay, now this one I have actually stamped separate and it's raised on dimensionals, but that does add to the thickness of this that we may not want to add more thickness to. So let's see. I want blocks. I'm going to use both of the flowers. I'm going to use the leaves, and I'm going to use Happy Birthday. So I'm going to use the smallest block that it's comfortably going to fit on. So this is a C. If you have too large of a block, it will have a tendency to give you, too much rocking room, and you may get those halos that people don't like. And I happen to have this older block. I don't think we sell this one anymore, the G. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm straight here. All right. So again, monochromatic, so I'm going to stick with our theme of the Lost Lagoon here. Okay. And then I'm going to have my flower come up out of the corner here. Now I love this surface because you can just come in with your little Simply Chamois and wipe that off. Now this time I'm going to use the masking paper. So I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm going to stamp this flower first. That's the one I want in the foreground. Then I'm going to take my paper. This, like I said, I die cut this and I stuck it to my shirt a few times, maybe to my arm. I don't want it ultra sticky because I want to make sure it eventually comes off. But then we're going to cover up the flower that's there. And I'm going to come in with my second flower and my leaves, and we're going to kind of stamp straight over the top. Okay, so it kind of looks like a jumbled mess. But when we pull off our masking paper, that's when we reveal the magic. See how beautifully that worked? So this gives us the same look and feel as my adding it after the fact with the Stampin' Dimensionals, just not adding that extra thickness. Okay, so we can come in and add those inside. I'm really going to need to come back and add some glue in there. All right, so then I'm going to need some scraps because we're going to do some stamping on the front. So I'm going to do some flowers that we can die cut and do on the front, and then we're also going to die cut some leaves. So this time, rather than stamping the leaves and using that die, we're going to use these dies and just stamp them out in a solid color. I felt they popped a little better that way. Okay, now this is probably going to be too wide for the mini machine I have over here. So what I will do is, there we go, come on. Die cut or cut this down the middle, so either this way or this way, so that it will fit on my smaller platform, but we can still run them through at the same time. Okay, so I can run these two. I hope you all saw that I have uploaded the thumbnails and the announcements for my next two lives. The one on Thursday and the one on next Monday are already up there. So you might want to go hit the little bell to remind yourself. It should, if you are logged into your Gmail account, Stampin' Up, or not Stampin' Up, YouTube should let you know when I go live and tell you to come join us live. It's always been my hope to get planned out ahead so that you guys know ahead of time what we're going to be making and you can hit that little reminder button. Being a one-person show is a lot of work. So I'm usually playing some form of catch-up, but this week I am ahead. Bang, bang, bang. Okay, there's those. Now we need some leaves. We are in the home stretch. So who thought this was going to be hard when I first posted the pictures and then found out it's not as hard as it looks? It's kind of pleasantly surprising that it's not really hard. The resizing it was a bit of a challenge, but Actually, putting it together is not too bad. And this is, of course, going into book 5. I want to thank those of you who have been loyal in getting my Fun Fold tutorial books. They've been really great. I've been pleasantly surprised how much I use them. They are a nice way to keep track of all the different patterns and measurements and sketches, kind of all in one area. And it doesn't take up very much room. You know, it's like a very thin booklet, but yet it's got all of the measurements and diagrams and photos and all of that stuff in here. And the feedback has been positive, so that's good. Oop, this one's not wanting to come out of the die very well. Yep, this one's kind of falling apart. Okay, if you have dies like this that are more intricate and it's hard to get the pieces out of, sometimes using a little bit of wax paper or a used dryer sheet can act as a barrier in between and make it release from the die better. I've had these dies for a long time. I don't normally have issues. I think the fact that I have the camera on is making them misbehave. It's amazing how the camera clicking on makes things go all wonky. Every once in a while I have to watch one of the larger demos and see that they have the same issues happen to them and think, okay, it's not just me, it's the technology. Okay. Of course, with the photopolymer stamps, you don't want to let ink sit on them for too long because they will stain. The blue's not too bad, but the reds, or the Night of Navy was surprisingly a lot of red staining. And then you've noticed I have this sheet that is what I stamped when I very first opened up my stamp set, so that I know where everything goes. I can put this thin piece of the cover to my stamps and then set my stamps down onto it where they go, and then come in with the rest of my stamp set and just set it down over the top. And now I can see that I missed one, so I got to go back and find my happy birthday and fill that in, and then I'm ready to put that away. But on to our final step of this card. Hopefully I haven't lost everybody. I see the numbers have dwindled significantly. So thank you to those of you kind of hang out till the end and support me in this. I appreciate it more than you know. Okay, so I'm applying the leaves kind of to the back. And then I'm going to do a couple of them flat. One's upside down. Okay, and then this one I think I will pop up on dimensionals. Okay, so there we are. There is our multi-panel pop-up card. In Lost Lagoon. Sorry, this is driving me crazy. I should have done this with liquid glue. So I hope you try this. It's not as difficult as it looks, I promise. And I'd love to see what you do with it and what stamp set and DSP you use. I love it when you guys come back and share your ideas with me. And it kind of validates that I'm doing this for a reason, right? There are people watching me. Ah, yes. There is my happy birthday. But see, my putting it on that little sheet and having my stamped images let me know that was missing. There are a lot of pieces, but if you break it down and just kind of strategically put them in place, we know the blocks are first, then I did this, and then I did the outside. It goes together fairly smoothly. And it's an impressive card. I think whoever receives it on the other end is going to be quite impressed that you did that all by yourself. So I hope you give it a try. Okay, let's see. Let me get back to my front screen. Okay, so Thursday we're coming back. We're going to do another easy one. It is, of course, a fun fold, but it's much easier. So it's just standard scoring and layering, and we're going to stamp on a label, and we're going to do this double envelope flap card. We've done an envelope flap before. This is a double, sorry, focus. There we go. A double envelope flap. Okay, so I will see you on Thursday for that one. And then Monday, as you already saw, we're going to do the faux triple step. Okay, so we're going to use that Scenic Coast Designer Series paper that should be back in stock by then, according to our inventory status report. Okay, so thank you so much, and I will see you on Thursday for our next live. Thank you so much. Bye.